Morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is politician and social activist Emmanuel Mok. Emmanuel, welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, and thank you.
Good to see you.
Viewers, good morning.
Yeah, Emmanuel, I hear you want to run for governor in Lagos State on the platform of Change Advocacy Party.
Yeah.
Isn't that ambitious? You are not from Lagos State. You want to run for governor in Lagos State.
You see, we have a lot of issues we have to deal with in Nigeria, and one of them is to address the issue of citizenship. That's a very fundamental thing.
That's Chapter 3 of the Nigerian Constitution.
Yes. Too many things are going wrong. And I've lived in Lagos practically all my life, since 1974. Schooled here and all of that. So I want to serve. Yes, a lot of people said I should go to Delta State, Asaba to be exact, to run. But I live in Lagos. I don't see the point in that. Even when I go to Asaba, a lot of my people will say, you are an outsider. I'm in Lagos here, so I want to do this. And there are a lot of things, being on ground here, I live here, that I feel need to be brought to the fore in discourse.
Well, before we come to that, before you begin to unfold your agenda for Lagos State, have you gone to see the Oba of Lagos?
Well,
to take permission?
We've not done that yet.
You have not gone to see the Oba of Lagos, and you want to be governor of Lagos State?
We've not done that.
A man from Delta State.
We'll get there, don't worry.
You remember what the Oba of Lagos said the other time?
No, the Oba himself said he didn't really say that. He was quoted out of
He denied it, huh?
Yes, he said he was
quoted out. Okay, but you will need his blessing. If from Delta State, you want to be governor of Lagos State.
Definitely, we will get to that.
Do you speak Yoruba?
Yes, I do.
Very well.
Not very well.
Not very well?
Not very well.
You don't even understand the language of the people you want to govern?
I speak the 3 languages of Nigeria,
okay, but I'm
unfortunately not very good
in Yoruba.
In any one of them.
So which language are you going to use to campaign to the people in Epe, Ikorodu?
Definitely I'll get by, because even in my social interactions, I do get by. Yes, so they hear me. They will definitely be able to communicate effectively.
Okay, tell us what your agenda is for Lagos State.
Well, for me, Lagos is like Nigeria's greatest, biggest. In fact, it's like Nigeria's, what would I say, exemplary city. Lagos needs to function. There are several things that I look at which I'm not happy about, and I hope we can do something about. One of the most important things is the fact that there's a lot of masses of Lagos people who are not getting by. And a lot of the youth in Lagos seem to beginning to build a culture of surviving on rent collection, more or less. Along the streets, some people are driving Okada or selling things. All over the junctions, you see a lot of young people. They're collecting all kinds of tolls, stuff like that. I would prefer that everybody be given an opportunity to work and not sit by indolently, just collect money and eat. I don't like something like that. 2, Lagos needs to function effectively on a mega city scale like you have across the world. But you have a situation where Lagos seems to be restricted. Markets close by 6 p.m. I find that to be limiting the capacity of the state. And so I would want to look at the possibility of making the state function like a 24-hour city. Safe, clean, open, opportunities for everybody, working. You see people sleeping on the street. In fact, each time you drive at night, late night, you see people sleeping around the bridges. In most countries of the world, a country and a state as rich as Lagos should have some kind of social net, such that somebody who has nowhere would have a place he can go to sleep. In the UK, there are council apartments. What's the reason for a city like Lagos not to have such social nets, except you have some churches who have some food systems where you can come and eat? What's going on? So there are a lot of things. The issue of garbage, I take like Lagos before now, we had the Molues, we had all of those. Now we have the BRT. Sincerely, let me tell you, I'm one of those that the BRT buses. If we had invested that amount of money in the yards that were building the motorways, we will be building our own BRT buses today. Think about how many buses we've bought, how much they cost, and all of that. Meanwhile, all of those people, the welders, the fabricators in that industry that became redundant because they were phased out, is there anywhere that they have been restored into? Nothing. We just lost an industry, we lost capacity, and that just happened. And I would sincerely prefer that, to do something like that. I definitely would encourage the BRT system. A lot of people are complaining there's too much traffic in Lagos, and perchance that the roads are bad, but I believe the governors that have functioned in the last 3 terms, from Tinubu to Fashola to Ambode, they've done very well in building roads. So most of the roads of Lagos are good, as far as I'm concerned, compared to Nigeria. But when you have 20 million people living in very closely compacted space, there must be congestion. And so for me, I would prefer that we focus in developing the BRT system such that it's comfortable to travel without having to go in your own car as a fundamental way. I would definitely complete the rail lines. I actually am happy.
I like all of these ideas.
Yes.
But you see, I mean, you are running on the platform of one of these recently registered parties.
Yes, yes.
So how strong is your party in Lagos State in terms of reach, in terms of influence? You know, all of this ambition is just an ideological thing. To say a non-Lagosian can be governor in Lagos if somebody can come from Ogun State and be a senator in Lagos State. Exactly. If someone can come from Osun and be a commissioner, maybe, you know, we should start spreading it.
Listen,
people should come from Cross River and come and be governor in Lagos too.
In the First Republic, it happened. Igbos were here as mayors and all of that, Hausas in the east and also in the north. Look, the new country I see is one where Nigerians are Nigerians. And when you get out of our borders, Nigerians are Nigerians. You understand? Now, as for the party and its strength, sincerely, the party is just evolving. That is the truth. I cannot say of a certainty that we might win these campaigns this time around, but definitely I'll tell you that we would improve the discourse. We will bring to the table the issues that should matter. We would improve the discourse, definitely. It will not be the same. And also, I do not want to seem to go against established interests and stuff like that, but power must come back to the people. Let me just say it that way.
You made reference to the government in Lagos, which has been held by one party, successive government.
Yes.
And the people's votes have shown that this is a party that had been in power because they keep re-electing their candidates. You say power must come to the people. Are you sure that Lagos residents are ready for a change in power?
Well, see, we are in politics and there are a lot of things we see and hear. And what you see sometimes is not really what is there. That's just what I would say concerning that. We're doing a lot of things with regards to getting INEC and the electoral process to be foolproof. That's a very important thing. For power to come to the people, the electoral process must be foolproof. Sincerely, it's unfortunate that the way it is, like you saw in the last recent elections in Ekiti and Osun State, and even the one in Kogi State, there are a lot of things to be desired, not exactly as one would expect. So the notion and the assumption that power resides with the people because APC has been in power this how many years now is actually not, in my mind, the exact truth. Okay? We would go to the elections, God willing, we will do our best, and we will keep fighting. You see, every society evolves based on the effort of members of that society. No society ever becomes good on its own.
You have been involved in a number of NGOs monitoring the political space. Yes. Transformation Watch Initiative, yes, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but if you look at INEC, in terms of its preparedness, will you say INEC is ready to conduct a credible election in 2019?
Sincerely, I have absolutely no faith in INEC anymore.
You have no faith in INEC?
Absolutely, I don't have any faith.
So why are you participating in a process in which you have no faith?
That's you are forced to, but then because you must, you are engaged in it, and that's why you are also advocating for the changes you want. There are several. One of the most important one is, I am one of those that very loudly advocated against the fact that INEC stopped registering voters. Even now, I am advocating that INEC should allow people with temporary voter cards to vote. In the last Osun State election, INEC announced that 435 or so voters will not vote in Osun State because they had temporary voter cards. Now, if you spent almost 8 months asking people to come out and register to vote, and so many people came out to register to vote, and you yourself gave them temporary voter cards, according to the law and their civic responsibility, by the time they came out and stood in that line for hours to get registered, once you gave them that temporary voter card, you had said, okay, you can go and vote with this. When your permanent voter card is ready, then we'll change it for you. Now, the elections in Osun State, the winner won with 260-something thousand votes. INEC canceled the election because of some 3,000 odd votes that were not properly, voided or accounted for. And so, now, if you deliberately, even before the election started, had disenfranchised 430-something thousand people, what are you saying? In the general elections, you are now saying that people should go and check their names that you are publishing the voter register. Meanwhile, close to 60 million people have still not collected their voter cards.
No, INEC, if I may play the devil's advocate.
Yes.
INEC is even saying that it's people, the voters themselves in some states who have refused to collect the PVCs.
That is not true. We have taken it upon ourselves to sensitize people. There are people who did not go to work so that they could register. Even my staff, I gave holidays. They could not register. Now it is to go collect your voter cards. It's easy to say what INEC is saying. But can INEC tell us that all the PVCs that are with you, can you distribute them according to polling units? All the PVC, the 16 million PVCs. Now, there are people who moved because of insurgency in the north to the south. INEC knows that these people moved. Can INEC publish a website with all the names of everybody who registered and who has not gotten, so that those people can check, and there will be centralized places where they can get their voter card and phone number?
The INEC is also complaining about you politicians.
Doing what?
INEC says, look, all these litigations, up and down, people going to court, could have implications for the integrity of the elections and could derail the electoral process.
Now, what do you do when INEC is supposed to be an umpire? And the beginning of fairness in any competition is a firm and credible umpire. When you have a situation where, imagine what happened in Delta State. Primaries were to hold in a place, and the address of the location for the primaries was not known by some of the candidates. Why would there not be litigation?
That was in the APC.
That was in the APC.
Not PDP.
I know, yes. So where would there not be litigation in such a situation? There would be. You understand? Litigations, the thing there is, let the process run on its own.
But is that a function of INEC? If you're to set a place for your primaries, is that the function of INEC?
See, take this rule that INEC put, that we would collect only the list that is supplied, that's given to us by the chairman of a political party. I was the chairman of a political party. A political party is a very large organization. Okay? Now, there are rules that for anybody to be a candidate, he must win a primaries. So imagine somebody won a primaries in Mushin, and I don't like that person. And I go to INEC and I give INEC the name of someone else in the same Mushin local government. Now, which should be more valid? Is it what I as chairman submitted, or the result of the primaries, the actual primaries? Now, the reason why I'm holding INEC responsible for some of these things is this. Before a party should organize a primary, the party is supposed to write to INEC and tell INEC the date and venue of a primary. Now, if this was strictly followed, you cannot have a situation of what happened in Delta State happening at all, or some of the things that has happened across the country, because the rules state that you must give INEC notice. You can't just tell INEC today you are doing your primaries tomorrow. You must give INEC 2 weeks notice or something like that. And in that notice must be time, venue. Do you understand?
For the umpire to monitor. So
yes.
Are you saying that this list was not even monitored?
I don't understand. That's what I'm saying.
Because for every primary, INEC sends out its officials to monitor the process. And so if the electoral body was not at a venue you set and couldn't monitor the process, are you saying they should accept the list?
That's what I'm saying. They're not supposed to. And when you set, you see, that's the point about a game. If the game is scheduled for the national stadium and you go and play it at Teslim Elias, it's not the same game anymore.
Well, so you were secretary of the IPAC,
yes,
the Interparty
Advisory
Committee,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And that position must have given you the opportunity of an helicopter view of the political party system in Nigeria.
Correct, yes.
Now, out of all the existing parties, why did you think you should create, or you should, create your own? Why didn't you consider it necessary to join any of the already existing parties? Because this time
I didn't create. We didn't create.
Well, it just looks like everybody will just go and register one political party, and hence we have so many. 79 or even
91.
91,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there are many political parties, but in other much more established democracies, there are far more political parties. In the UK, I think there are close to 400. In the US, more than 250. Okay, political parties have a lot of use to society. It's the way we are playing ours here. We're setting that you must do this, you must have office in so many. So because of that, you now want several very mega parties. National Transformation Party that I was chairman of was registered 2009, late 2009. We had 2010 to campaign and build a party, and we're in the elections 2011. We didn't win any of the positions in 2011 elections, but in 2012, INEC registered the party. Now, a lot of the people with whom we established National Transformation Party, very credible people, many very credible people across the country, felt that Nigerian politics doesn't make sense in many ways, because while you're trying to serve, people are also trying to milk you. So a lot of people just felt no need. And as a result of that, National Transformation Party, so till date, has not applied for registration in itself or through any other name. Okay? Different members of the party at some point looking at, because a party spread from the north, west, south, east, different people decided to join several different parties. But the bulk of the party at some point had joined PDP. As things went, and there were a lot of crises in PDP 2 years ago, before the Supreme Court judgment, the new PDP decided that they would move, and the decision was to move to Social Democratic Party. Okay. And so a lot of people did move to that, to Social Democratic Party and all of that. Now, the question as to why there are so many parties and why, so the important thing is we didn't apply for the registration, we just decided to join existing parties and try and be relevant in that situation. And that's where it has been. Now, we have so many parties, a lot of the reason is you have people who want to form their own parties. You have political parties, take like what is happening in PDP and APC. You want to come out and serve, you find that, take like just the amount, the nomination form amount. It just kills the ambition or the wish to serve of somebody who is not as wealthy as 45 million to get a ticket to be a governorship candidate. I mean, unless you just don't have anything to offer and you don't want to serve, then you just go fold your hand and stay in a party like that. But if you have the option of another party that can give you the ticket to run, to serve, to even, like I'm saying now, advocate for the issues you want and ask the people to vote for you. It's important that we have these parties. It helps break the monopoly of both the godfathers and political parties that seem to have hijacked society.
What do you think of the performance so far of the Buhari administration?
Sincerely, I am disappointed. On so many fronts, I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed in the fact that they talk about fighting corruption, but the seeming corruption seems to be greater than before. Take the case of NNPC. NNPC at some point reported that Nigeria's local consumption of fuel had risen to almost 70 million barrels a day. Meanwhile, for all the recent part, just before they came, the records we knew of were say that Nigeria's daily consumption was between 25 million and 20 million.
No, not barrels, you mean liters.
Liters, sorry, liters. Yes, liters, correct. That the consumption was between 25-30 million liters daily. Now, what could cause Nigeria's local consumption to double? For imports of fuel, NNPC are the only ones. Now, we were trying to see, we're complaining about subsidy, wasting money on subsidy. Then now you say we have doubled. Where are the cars? People can't even fill their tanks anymore because of the increase in cost from 87 to 145. So that's something that's questionable. The governors themselves have asked for a probe of that regime. This, for me, shows things that are not very clear. You hear of, okay, the Senate is trying to probe whether how many, 87 trillion or how many trillion they said is missing NNPC, and so then take the issues of fashion.
But the NNPC itself insists that it's taking steps, you know, to ensure greater transparency and accountability. And one example they give is the recent crude direct purchase agreement that they have with British Petroleum.
See,
so it's not as completely opaque as you.
No. See, the point is this: how have they fared? For me, how they have fared is that they are not doing well. I just gave you in the area of corruption, tangibility in a core ministry in government. Now, in the security of the country, what we see is killings all over the place. I was reading in this day this morning, the president saying that he is distressed by all these killings and is advising Nigerians to live in harmony. I can say so. I'm a citizen. I don't have executive powers. The president has no right to say that. The president is supposed to take charge and ensure peace, harmony, and arrest criminals.
Yeah, but the spokespersons also insist that all of these problems were inherited.
No.
And that they need another 4 years to be able to address this problem.
In the last 7 years before he came, when these issues of Boko Haram and all of that, 2 years of Yaradua and then the 5 years of Jonathan, Yaradua did his best. In the beginning of Yaradua's time, insurgency was in the South-South. Yaradua went to the South-South and negotiated the amnesty program that killed insurgency in the South-South. Jonathan's time, insurgency started in the Northeast.
No, it didn't start during Jonathan's time.
Yes, it started in Yaradua's time.
No, even much earlier.
Okay, but I got proper acquainted with it late Yaradua, most of Jonathan's time. And I saw what Jonathan was doing as containing the insurgency in the Northeast, trying to negotiate with political leaders in the Northeast to please intervene so that the army does not go in and just deal with our children. Do you understand? But now, even just before the last election, 2015, the military went into the Northeast, and the general, both international and local feeling was that this thing had been dealt with, just to mop it up. All of a sudden, you hear them now attacking military barracks, killing. So how can you kill 80 Nigerian soldiers in one event? All kinds of claims we hear. They are kidnapping Dapchi girls again after the Chibok girls. The Chibok girls are still not released. Then look at what happened in Kaduna recently, what happened in Benue, to the point where they say they even destroy whole communities and resettle them. So for security, the government has failed completely. The president can't come and say, I'm distressed. You have executive powers.
Don't you think that there's over-concentration on the president? These security challenges are happening within states. How about the chief security officers of those states who are the governors? Do you think they are taking enough responsibility for you
to know that the governors are sitting ducks? It's what happened to Fayose in Ekiti State. A sitting governor in a state, his state radio station was shut down by the federal government. The police took over the state. We saw it. The governors have absolutely no power, nothing. There's nothing the governor can do. That is why we're fighting for state police. And definitely, that's a very important thing. No matter what disadvantages people might say that might derive from that, I can bet you that the advantages would far outweigh it. You can't have a station where, they went to, where was that, and burnt Olufalaye's farm. Nobody was arrested.
So what will you recommend?
Definitely, I recommend a station where you have federal police and you have state police. And even with the federal police, you should also have, like you have in the US, you have the FBI, you have the federal police force, you have the National Guard, all those kind of things. So you can have national security and civil defense. It's like the National Guard, ideally. You have the military, but you should have state police.
Well, let's contextualize that. Are you talking about restructuring? And if so, what does restructuring mean to you?
For me, restructuring definitely will require that we take, in fact, 3/4 of the things in the exclusive list out and leave the federal government with international affairs, customs, military, federal judiciary, federal police, okay, and federal laws formulation, so that education, state resources, natural resources, land matters are within the confines of each state. And then we strengthen citizenship, so that the fact that I'm an Igbo man in Lagos, I can run for governor, I can own land, I do my business, pay my taxes, and just be normal and a citizen.
Well, we've had many guests on this program
Yes.
who have commented on restructuring. Yesterday, we had a gentleman, Fela Durotoye,
Yes.
who said, yes, beyond all of this, promise new Nigeria.
Okay.
And I find that interesting because it looks like no matter what you do in Nigeria, you are not going to import people from elsewhere.
True.
It's these same Nigerians. Do you think that all of this is actually a problem with the Nigerian?
You see, for me, I believe the Nigerian person has no problem. I mean, if you look at the industries in
We are
Nigeria,
all innocent people. It's only our leaders that are guilty. Is that what you're saying?
you see, no, human beings naturally have different issues in every society. In the UK, in America, in Israel, you would find people who have tendencies to be dubious, people who have tendencies to tell lies, to cheat, and all of that. Also good people. That's Nigeria. So we are a normal society. Unfortunately for us, Nigeria is being structured by the leaders in such a way that some people seem to have a sense that they own Nigeria. It's our own. And so they decide how things should be. Look at Lagos now. Just look at Lagos for an example.
You seem to be very passionate about Lagos.
Look at, for 3 years, it's never happened before. For the last 3 years, trailers, you can go from Sele to Apapa, trailers all over the place. Look at the bridges. From Western Avenue, from Ikorodu Road, coming trailers. Why? Because they are doing the Apapa Tinkan Island Road. Why would it take so long to do that? Now, even let's leave the fact that you're doing that. If Nigeria were working well, we have like 7 ports that other ports would have been open so that the congestion is taken out a bit. Do you understand? To reduce, I would have gotten here much earlier if not for the traffic. So Nigeria just is not working well. Okay, so when Fela Durotoye says that a new Nigeria, I totally agree. And I tell you, that new Nigeria comes from first devolving powers to the states, strengthening the rights of citizens in the state, strengthening the right of personal property to the citizen. This thing might seem simple, but I tell you, when these things are done, you devolve powers, you strengthen the protection of citizens as citizens of Nigeria, you define who a citizen is clearly, and so that you don't have a situation where somebody can say, you cannot do this here, you cannot do that. That does not mean that cultural diversity will not be protected and paid attention to. But in all those situations, we should pay attention. As I was talking about the industries that we don't have all of these restrictions of politics. Take like the music industry. Take like the film industry. You don't see Nigerians quarreling and fighting each other on ethnic basis. They're just performing and excelling across the world. Even if you go to a Nigerian, say, movie presentation and all of that, you see the whole government of Nigeria, a very large country and extremely large diversity, yet that diversity works seamlessly. The only place we're having problem is in the area of power play, resource control. It's that resource control that is this issue here.
Does your party have a presidential candidate?
Yes, yes, the party does.
Who is the presidential candidate?
The presidential candidate is Ambassador Louis Abba. He's from Benue State. He's an Idoma man. And that's the person. He's a young person.
I asked you because I was going to ask, who are you likely to vote for in the presidential election? Are you going to vote for the presidential candidate of your party, or you look at the more prominent candidates on the list?
Sincerely, today, Nigeria is at a place where it's a make-or-break situation, this 2019 elections. It's a make-or-break election for Nigeria. The fact that my party and many other parties have candidates, presidential candidates in this election, you realize that 2 critical alliances have been formed. We are in CUPP, okay, which is the alliance with PDP as the main
movement.
Yes, CUPP. That's where we are in. And the understanding there is that ultimately we would have to come to an agreement as to who to vote for within all the candidates in the party. That's what we need to do.
It's 4 months to the election. You haven't decided yet as a party, as a coalition?
Well, you know, at the national level, they have to make some of those decisions. Yeah, people like us, we have a voice, but then they would, at that level, make a final decision. I cannot make that decision.
Well, Lisa Bakuba SAN, who is one of the leaders of that initiative, was supposed to be on this program this morning. Okay. And it's one of the questions I would have wanted him to address.
Answer. Yes, maybe they would have to. Definitely this will be done. Because it's clear to everybody that this election is a make or mark for this country. And we cannot afford to play petty politics with it. We need to all agree.
But speaking for yourself,
yes,
which of the candidates do you think the coalition should back? Or which political party? Your own, you are not speaking for CUPP now. You are just expressing an individual opinion.
Sincerely speaking for myself, at this time, looking at what's on ground today, for the most visible presidential candidates, the most influential presidential candidate, the party first, the party that has the largest influence is APC, and its candidate is Muhammadu Buhari. The next party that has the next largest influence is the People's Democratic Party. And naturally, I would advise every political party in CUPP that we support PDP. Because, it's just natural justice. If I have more influence.
So you are recommending a conspiracy against the ruling government?
No. It's not a conspiracy. This is politics. There are alliances. We're going to an election. There are alliances, okay? So the ruling government is a formidable force. And the other party, even the ruling government, before they became a ruling government, they formed an alliance. It was that alliance that they used to. But as far as I'm concerned, they are messing up with it. We're going to another election. I am staking everything I have to ensure that these people don't win this election, okay? And that's why I'm telling you that even in CUPP, this nationally, for all of us as Nigerians, our lives are at stake in this matter, you know? So PDP has how many governors? So none of the other parties can compete with it on that level. And we cannot pretend to say that governors don't have influence in helping to ensure that the party does well in an election. And so PDP should be the lead party in CUPP. Now, the presidential candidate of the CUPP is Atiku Abubakar. Now, Atiku Abubakar and Muhammadu Buhari, you decide for yourself who you think will do better, is going to do it's better at anything. I think Atiku will be a better person than Buhari. Now, if you now come to the vice presidential candidate, you have two very sound people, okay? But Peter Obi has done much as a governor. I was in Anambra State before now, because I'm from Asaba. Anambra State is just across the bridge. I knew what Anambra was in the time of Ngige and Mbadinuju. I know what Anambra is today since Peter Obi left it. Do you understand me? I know both of them very well. I know Peter Obi, I know Yemi Oshibajo.
That's why you see we actually have a man from Change Advocacy Party, but he's actually a PDP man at heart.
No. I've never joined PDP. Never joined PDP.
Emotionally.
No, I'm a Nigerian. I'm a Nigerian. See, the interest of Nigeria we must leave all these little issues aside and focus on building our country. The interests of Nigeria, there are too many issues, I'm telling you.
So what do you have to say to people and the ruling party, which says that there's no vacancy in Aso Rock? They feel that they've done a lot, social investment programs, money traders, trader money, and the farmer, school feeding children, and so many things they have listed. Just this week, we had Garba Shehu on this program who says, in fact, rice farmers alone can return the president to power because there are about 12 million of them. So really, do you think that there's a viable opposition to the ruling party?
You see, facts speak. In your paper of today, the American government countered the Nigerian claims that we have increased rice production. In fact, they said Nigeria's rice production has reduced by almost 400,000 metric tons, or is it million? I don't know. That since from 2016, since they came to 2018, Nigeria's local rice production has been reducing. Meanwhile, they are telling us it's increasing. But the price of rice in the local market is telling you that it's reducing. Do you understand me? And they have so many claims that they make. Why would you, in an economy where you're trying to grow the economy, industry is not able to get funding from the bank? I was speaking to a bank CEO 4 days ago, and he said that really a lot of banks are a bit distressed, so they are very careful where they are giving money to because the economy is challenged, okay? And so banks are trying to protect themselves. Then liquidity, you are giving it to people to just every month somebody collects 5,000 naira. On the scale of 1 million or 6 million or 8 million people. It just, for me, shows lack of vision, lack of understanding of how to grow an economy and get that people out of poverty. You're just wasting the money. You say you are feeding children. Look at the amounts. It is also so questionable. How much have you spent? What are you spending it on? Which schools? In Lagos, are they feeding children in the schools in Lagos? Why should you select certain states? There are certain programs that are so bogus and so wasteful.
No, they're talking about a pilot program.
Pilot program 3 years, pilot program 3 years. What kind of pilot program 3 years? As far as I'm concerned, I feel that I am being cheated. Okay, because I come from Delta State. Are you feeding children in Delta State? Are you giving people 5,000 naira in Delta State? Or are there no poor people in Delta State? So you see, at each of the signature policies of this government is failed. And we can, if they say there's no vacancy in Aso Rock, how, let's all Nigerians, like I was on Wazobia the other day, and one of the things I said to the people is, the elections are coming 2019. Forget anywhere else. At your polling booth, ensure that the results, the right results, are what comes out. At your own polling booth, vote, remain, let it be counted, get the results, and post it. These people that say there's no vacancy in Aso Rock, I wonder if they will even win in Katsina.
Well, Emmanuel, thank you very much for coming to the morning show.
Thank you very much.
And all the best with your gubernatorial ambition as a candidate of the Change Advocacy Party in Lagos State.
Yes, yes.
Let's see how that plays out.
Yeah, let's see how it plays out. Let's see how it plays out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
It's time now for a short break on the morning.